Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Jabroni Drive. On this week's episode, Roman Reigns, AJ Styles returns, MJF, LA Knight, the U.S. Tournament, Logan Paul, R-Truth, and Judgement Day, Creed Brothers, Miz and Gunther. Will this be the greatest episode of Jabroni Drive? I think so. Timmy, what do you got to say to all the Schmidt-Lavelites out there?
Tom, I think I'm just going to stick to my guns. Just listening to this podcast is just too sweet. And when you listen to Jabroni Drive, you're going to be a jabroni over life.
I love it! Timmy, I think that has become, and I know we're ripping off the NWO boys, but that has to be the new slogan for Jabroni Drive. When you listen to Jabroni Drive, you're a jabroni for life. And we appreciate you listening out there. And if you're not already doing it, now's the time. We say it every week. If you aren't already doing it, give us that subscribe, that follow, that share. Go on YouTube. We're on Instagram. We're on TikTok. We're on Spotify, Apple, wherever you're listening. Give us that subscribe, follow. Maybe throw in a notification. Let you know when new videos or new content's out. You can go give it a listen and comment, like, share, whatever it is. Interact with us. We got big things coming up. If you're listening now, a big event, January 27th, the Royal Rumble at Graham's Pub will be having a live show followed by the Royal Rumble watch party. It's going to be an epic time, expecting a big turnout, a lot of energy. If you're looking for a place to go watch the Royal Rumble, Graham's Pub, January 27th, we will be there. Who knows what could happen? Maybe I'll go through a table. I don't even know what's going to happen that day. Timmy, are you excited for the Royal Rumble?
Yeah, there's a couple people that have already declared themselves for the Royal Rumble, which I didn't know was a thing that you could do. Felt like you needed to earn your way into the Rumble. People are just coming out and being like, I'm in. It's like, oh, okay.
There will be people that have to earn their way in. But yeah, I guess the big guys just come out and say, hey, I'm Cody Rhodes. I'm in the Royal Rumble. You know what I mean?
I mean, we can all figure it out, but it's just funny. Like, what if just like random people just started showing up? You know? Like,
yeah, it's the boogeyman. What are you doing here? I'm in the Royal Rumble.
What are you talking?
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah,
you don't even work here.
Yeah, hold on a second. Yeah, JBL, you've been retired for a while. You can't get in the Royal Rumble, you Jo.
No, it's
Adam Copeland comes crawling back. Please let me in the Royal Rumble.
I'm literally wrestling in front of nobody.
I'll do anything.
I think it'll shape up to be a good one. There's always, like the thing with the Rumble is that every year they always have like a wrinkle where there's someone from the past that they bring in. I think the last time we watched it, I think Booker T came in last year.
Yes, he did last year. You're right.
Which was funny, but yeah, there's always a surprise entrant. Out of nowhere. I was watching what's his name? Oh my God, what's his name? He wrestled a ton. He was just on the Chris Van Vliet show.
Who is
Cardona,
that?
Matt Cardona.
Oh, yeah.
And
Cardona, yeah.
I mean, he looks like he's in great shape. But I'm not sure if there's any talk about bringing him back at all, but
woo.
He seemed like he had a pretty solid WWE career, right?
Absolutely. One of those guys that kind of made himself, and he wasn't getting, I don't think, the spotlight that he wanted, and decided to do the indie scene and kind of change his character. He went to more of a hardcore, the king of the death match, the indie god, the hardcore champion, and he kind of went away from the character that he was playing in WWE. I would love to have him back, married to Chelsea Green, who is a smoke show. I do love Chelsea Green. She would be on my one of my top lists of the female wrestlers out there right now.
There you go.
Um,
But
but
I mean, besides like card, look, I'm just naming like a random wrestler. Yeah, it'd be great if they brought that back. Everyone knows, like, if they brought back the Berserker for a match, that'd be fun.
well, you know what, Timmy? I think this is a great segue, and we're going to make this our first topic now, and we're going to get to the other stuff first. But recently, in an interview, big time free agent. And it had been rumored that he had signed with AEW, but MJF, Maxwell Jacob Freeman, I'm better than you know it. The current AEW world champion said, I've never lied. January 1st, 2024, when stuff like that gets leaked out, it makes me laugh because I remember something got leaked out about Cody Rhodes having secretly resigned. And then he showed up. Something got leaked out about CM Punk and Tony Khan are actually fine. I think fans leak out things that they want to be true. I love AEW. I want to stay in AEW. After this pay-per-view, it's time to assess the situation. And that's on the rumors that MJF has not signed with AEW. There's a pay-per-view for AEW coming up in a couple days. Maybe we will see Maxwell Jacob Freeman in the Royal Rumble. I'm going to say no, and this is why. We've discussed at length on this show the amount of talent that is in WWE. MJF is the world champion in AEW. He's the guy, he's the top. He comes over to WWE, he's not going to be the top, at least not right away, and it's going to be a long road for him. And does he want to be and I don't want to say mid Carter, he could be a main event talent that doesn't get the number one spot at WrestleMania. Is he going to be okay with not closing the show at WrestleMania, at SummerSlam, at Royal Rumble?
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to bring in top tier talent from another company, and then thrust them into what would be, title contention. And you have so many guys right now that are just so worthy of those spots that it's just hard to assess and bring in, like, how hard to assess where he would fit in, to be honest. And dude, like, even with like the intercon, like, look, if you would assess the belts, right, you would say the three biggest belts on the roster are the intercontinental title, and then both the heavyweight titles, right? The universal and world heavyweight. So those are your three belts, right? So right now you have Gunther, who's held it for over, I don't even know what the time
Year
is
and a
now.
half.
Year and a half. You
The
have,
longest reign in Intercontinental Belt Hills history.
yep. You have Seth Rollins, who's the first person to hold this title and has held it since its inaugural.
Yeah. The longest reigning heavyweight. But yes, he's the only one that's held this belt. You're right.
And Roman Reigns, we all know his story. So with Roman Reigns, he's given other people a shot, but like, it's mostly been between Cody Rhodes, Brock Lesnar, and then you had LA Knight get a shot at it, right? Who else has had a
Jey
shot?
Uso.
Jey Uso. But it just, those are your top tier talent right there. And then you look at the Intercontinental title and what Gunther has done with it, and the most recent individuals that he's wrestled for that title in Miz and in Alpha Academy. What's his name?
Chad Gable.
Chad Gable. Like, these two guys have like just completely like overperformed, right? Like, they're just,
And company guys that have been
yeah.
there for a long time.
And then, and with Seth Rollins now, I mean, you have Drew McIntyre, who has just signed with the WWE and is on the verge probably of winning that title, depending on how it goes. And maybe you could throw him into the fold there. I don't know, but like, Gunther eventually is going to give up that title. He's going to have to move up into that world title heavyweight champion discussion. I just Miz is completely outperformed. You got AJ Styles that has just can't come back
Randy Orton,
to,
CM Punk.
yeah, yeah. Like, these guys, there's just so many individuals that are so talented. And then like I'm leaving out Logan Paul with the U.S. title, and that reign has just started, and I'm assuming that that is going to take off with each and every defense that he has. So it's just it's hard to see where he fits in. Now, granted, I think the WWE isn't going to look at it and go, yeah, like he's not going to fit into the picture. Like
No,
if
they'll
they have
find a
an
spot for him.
yeah, if they have an opportunity to sign MJF, they will do everything they can to bring him on board because he is that good.
Right.
And he's better than you, and you know it.
I guess the big question is he going to be okay with not being the guy for the
Well,
foreseeable future? I mean, I would imagine it's going to take him a couple years to even start sniffing really being the main event, the heavyweight champion, at
well,
least a year.
look, when you get into this business, Tom, what is the ultimate goal?
Stone Cold, you're right, always says to be the heavyweight champion. You want to be the guy finishing, closing out WrestleMania, the main event, the man. If you're not trying to do that, then what are you doing? That's what Stone Cold always used to say. That's what Punk says.
Main event at WrestleMania is the number one goal of every wrestler in the world. I don't know why individuals like uh who's the dude that just got hurt in AEW.
Uh, the guy that just got hurt in AEW. I don't.
Jericho's his partner, the guy that started AEW, came over from from Japan.
Oh, can't wait. Kenny Omega.
Omega, like Kenny Omega, for some reason, he's been like this, this unheard of wrestler that has wrestled in New Japan for all these years, and for some reason, he's just never gone to the WWE by choice. I don't know, like maybe, but I mean, it's weird that like if he's supposed to be one of the best wrestlers of like
Well, I
alive
think they
right
see
now,
the writing on the wall. I think that's
they
part
could.
of the reason why Adam Cole went over there too, because he was the main guy in NXT, and he knew that if he got called up to the main roster, he was going to be in Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa territory. You know what I mean? Like these
Yeah.
are guys that were the stars there that would probably be stars over in eight. I think that's why Moxley left. I think that's why Daniel Bryan left. Jericho, they all are like, well, I'm not going to be the main event here,
Hmm.
so I'm going over there.
I think Jericho is a different story. I think he just gets bored, and I think he needs something different, right? Like Jericho has been. I thought he was a main star over here. Like he's done so many good things. Um, yeah, I think he just has creative differences with where his character should go, and like he'll always be a top talent. I think he's established himself as that over the years. Like Moxley, like all these journeyman guys that have um, yeah, I've had a shot and then just seemed to fumble it away. Like Daniel Bryan, like he had a title run for a little bit. The crowd loved him. He was hot, right, for a while. It just feels like, he had that injury and then he had to go away. Like these guys that don't, it seems like they can't cut it in the WWE or they can't figure it out, seem to go away. Like,
Right. And you know what? They used to be the blame was creative and Vince is out of touch. And that's true. Partly true. That excuse is gone now. You
mhm,
can't say, "Oh, these guys are out of touch," and they because the product, you can't deny it. The
yeah.
people at the top right now are cream of the crop, top of the world. Drew McIntyre is one of the greatest wrestlers in the world. Doesn't even hold a title, So it, I can't imagine someone coming over and saying, "Hey, Drew, we're going to push you aside for this guy," with the performances that he's been putting on lately.
Yeah, and there's a way that you can build up your credibility and your star without holding a title. I mean, look at Logan Paul. Take a look at what he's done. Look at LA Knight. I mean, LA Knight has yet to hold a title, and he's one of the most popular wrestlers in the WWE, right? Um, so the way I see it is, yeah, he can come over. I think he can create his brand. He's loud enough. He is great on the mic. He doesn't need coaching like Jade Cargill did when she came over. I think he's ready to go. He's a ready superstar that you can sign on day one, at day one, and have him in the Rumble, by the 27th, ready to rock, dude. It just
Would that be awesome if his music hits it? I mean, that would be a big pop, dude.
Yeah,
Big pop.
sure would. And look, we've seen now in the past, in the recent months, that Triple H is not afraid to make that big splash, right? Like he is not afraid to pull the trigger, not afraid to bring guys back, right? That have had their opportunity here, or in the WWE. Um, so it would be fun to see that come to fruition. I don't know if I feel like the same way you do. I more likely than not, more not than likely for MJF to show up at Rumble. But if he comes in, they will find a spot for him, and he will be relevant in WWE. I do tend. I made this comparison before. It's difficult for wrestlers sometimes to make that transition, like a Taz, who's the dominant force that he was over, in ECW, and then WWE brought him over. They launched his career, and he was a complete dud.
Right. And
And
it's a different beast in WWE when we talk about the size of these guys. A Drew McIntyre is what, 6'5", 260, can do the kick ups and everything you want. You're going against a Brock Lesnar and Omos and stuff like that. And Cody Rhodes recently talked about in an interview MJF and how he's noticed that he is bulked up and put on some size and how he's impressed with that because when you come over to WWE, you're going to be going against a Roman Reigns, a Brock Lesnar, a Drew McIntyre, and you have to look the part. And Tim, I think you're right on, man. MJF, we would love to see him in WWE. He would totally be irrelevant right into a major storyline. I'm just wondering if the idea of him not being the top guy, if he can handle that for a little while, because I just don't see it. It can't happen right away. I
but look at
just
his story is just so relevant from when he started, from calling Cody Rhodes and trying to get on that first pay-per-view, and eventually, knocking down the door to finally get on that pay-per-view and to build himself up to where he's at right at this moment. I mean, if you're looking at it from that perspective, there's only one other place to go to be right. Like he's climbing that ladder. I
right.
mean, why
Maybe he
stop?
says, I've already done this. I
Yeah,
need to do that now. And maybe
yeah,
it'll take him a couple years, but
yeah. I mean, he's still young. I think he's 30 years old or something like
no,
that.
not even, dude. He's like 25.
Is he?
Yeah, he's young. I mean, I let me look it up real quick. And sorry, you can keep going while I look it up. But yeah, I want to say he's really young.
No, I mean and if you want to, I know people are so tired of the finishing the story mantra that everyone seems to be following in the WWE right now. But I mean that is something that I think is appealing to most wrestlers, and especially a guy like him at the top of his game where he is right now could be such a addition for him. And um it gives him more relevancy than to be at the AEW. Like I mean, he has to see the writing on the wall when he's looking and he sees Edge and yeah Christian down there, and like they've done everything that he's done that he hasn't done. Like
Right.
these guys are on the roster and he's wrestling these guys and he's like, shit, like this dude's already had two careers, and I'm still on my first. Like I need to go to where they were. Like they've wrestled in front of 70,000 people. They've wrestled WrestleMania. They've highlighted, show upon shows. They've done one of the greatest tag team matches in history. They've become trendsetters, and now they're at their end of their careers. And
You're
I'm
getting
in
me
a
fired up, Timmy. I think MJF might start saying, this is the main goal.
yeah,
Every wrestler in the world, like you said, wants to main event WrestleMania. MJF will come over. He'll be very relevant. And like we've talked with CM Punk, another guy that you can throw right into a lot of storylines. He obviously has a history with Cody Rhodes, and it would be really cool to see him. Just looked it up. MJF is 27 years old. So, man,
right in his prime. I mean, and he'll come with a big price tag because he demands that much. I think.
Absolutely.
I've only watched a few of his matches, but he's relevant. He's at the top of his game. He's going to be in this industry for quite some time, whether he stays with AEW or not. Um, I think eventually he's going to make a jump at some point. I don't know when that is. I think at the age of 27 is a perfect time for him to do it because they're eventually going to take these belts off these guys. And if he comes over now, I don't think Reigns is going to hold on to the belt for another 2 years or 3 years or anything like that. I think there's going to be a wave here with the WWE where these belts not change as often as they did when it was, back in the Attitude Era where it was every other week it was switching hands. But um,
Even more
there's
the
going to
ruthless aggression era, I would say too. Like, Randy Orton and Cena have held it so long, so many times.
yeah,
Where back in the day, Stone Cold, I think, is a six-time champion. Taker maybe like a five. So they
yeah.
really started flip-flopping, and it's good they got away from that. Sorry to cut you. I know what you're saying, so I'm sorry
No,
to
no. So I mean, I just think that now would probably be a good time to get involved and get in the mix. Because
be
there's going to
awesome.
be, yeah, there's going to be a lot of guys that are candidates to put the strap on, and MJF would certainly be there within the mix.
Absolutely. So MJF, we'll see where that goes. Maybe he shows up at the Royal Rumble. And like we said before, big Royal Rumble party. If you're listening to this now, that's going to be at Graham's Pub on January 27th. More details coming out as the show gets closer. Going to be a great time. We hope to see you there. Jabroni Drive, live from Graham's Pub. It's going to be a Royal Rumble. I don't know.
I like that. I like
Thank
that.
you. Yeah, I just came. It's going to be a Royal Rumble. You like that? I just came up with that.
It's
So,
catchy.
Timmy, another return this week on SmackDown. Big return from Mr. AJ Styles. He comes out. Dude, this guy looks awesome. I have not seen him look this ripped. I was talking to someone about that, and they were saying that he's on steroids. They were thinking that Randy Orton and AJ Styles are on steroids. There's this treatment now. Oh, you're low on testosterone. They give you a boost, blah, blah, blah. I don't know about all that. I was like, wow, okay. I never even thought about that. Dude looks great. Does he not look jacked? And we've talked about his haircut in the past and how it looks goofy and stuff like that, but he looked okay out there today or out there this past week. And they're saying this character is like a lone wolf type of character that he's had in the past. I loved it, his kind of new gimmick coming out. What do you think of the return of AJ Styles?
Love. All right. So if you remember this, he came back. I think this is his second comeback in the last year, I believe, because he
Right.
was, and the last time they brought him back, he didn't get any. He got like the weird music and like
Yeah.
it was
It
an
was a
afterthought.
terrible comeback.
Yeah. This time I think they did it right.
Timmy, if I
The
could just cut you off he came back and they brought him out with the OC. They
Well,
didn't even
that's
play his music. It was like,
yeah,
wait, is that AJ Styles?
yeah,
Like that was bad. That was
yeah,
bad booking right there.
yeah, yeah. And maybe that was Vince still meddling. Who knows? But
Maybe.
but at this point, we're sitting here and we're talking about AJ Styles, and that's why I brought him up within that title contender because he comes in, yeah, and he attacks Roman Reigns. He hits him with the flying forearm or the what's it called? The
Phenomenal forearm.
well, no, phenomenal forearm, and it just sets things in motion. And yeah, you hear his music, and no one knows where he's coming from, and it's like. Yeah, there was speculation that he was coming back. I wish that would stop, though. I really wish that would stop.
It's
I
impossible now, in this
I know,
era.
but
It's
but
tough.
like the pops would be so much
I
bigger,
know.
and people would just be like so caught off, like where all of a sudden like you hear that music, you're like, holy shit. Um,
It's really a chore for WWE and all of professional wrestling to keep things under wraps. It's
yeah.
difficult to do because there's so many reporters and Twitter and Instagram and everything. It gets leaked and stuff like
Well,
that.
it's funny because I was texting, yeah, the Lion, and I was texting HJB because HJB had the inside scoop as he always does. He's
Yeah,
our social media expert.
he's got his ear to the street. He's got it.
And just to be clear, there is only one HJB. The other HJB does not exist. There
There
is,
is no other HJB.
as Roman Reigns would say, there is only one.
You know what? It's almost like, do you remember back in the day when Diesel and Undertaker, they
Yeah,
had the fake Diesel and the fake Razor Ramon?
yeah, yeah,
It's almost like that with the other
yeah,
HJB, it's
yeah.
like it's not real. There's only one HJB and there's only going to be one HJB for the foreseeable future. We
Correct.
might throw some jabronis in the mix.
So he's sitting there tweeting while he's telling us that AJ Styles is coming back, and it's towards the end of the show, and I'm shooting text messages off. I'm like, yeah, yeah, great call on the AJ Styles, and but like in the back of your head, there's still like 10 minutes left, and you're like, he could still could pop out at some point here, so you're kind of expecting it, and then sure enough, his music hits and he comes out, and then he attacks LA Knight. I like I like that angle with LA Knight because you mentioned this before we started the show is that you feel like LA Knight's losing some relevancy with the return of CM Punk.
Right.
And
And so maybe let me just pose the question and you keep going. The question was, Timmy, who has who is going to lose the most from the return of CM Punk? And we both kind of nominated LA Knight because he was on such a meteoric rise. And now all of a sudden Punk returns and it's kind of like LA Knight is an afterthought. He was maybe at one point the odds on winner of the Royal Rumble in some circles. So now where does he go? It seems like they're doing a thing with AJ Styles. Timmy, is he the biggest loser on the return of CM Punk?
no,
And maybe talk
no,
more about the angle.
no. So I don't think he's that at all. I think he's benefited honestly more um because he's being if you look at where he's at right now, LA Knight, there is no more mid card bullshit that he's being tossed to. Like he's I mean, I think his last like 5 or 6 opponents have been Solo Sikoa, Roman Reigns,
Miz,
Miz, right? Like,
now AJ Styles,
yeah, it's just one superstar after the next. He's not wrestling fucking
Tozawa,
yeah,
or,
yeah,
Ivar.
right. Like so he
No
is
offense to those guys. We love them.
yeah, and he's tagging with Randy Orton. He's in the mix there. Like he's doing these 6-man tag teams with Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso. Like there is no, you know, there's nothing that's preventing him from where he's going. And this is just another step in the right direction, I think, with AJ Styles coming back. Yeah, maybe AJ Styles doesn't like it because he probably didn't know who LA Knight was before he left, and now he's back and he's in the midst of this LA Knight feud, which is probably going to take place. I don't know why or how, but
Maybe that's why did AJ Styles attack LA Knight?
well, Tom, if we learned anything from
Very
Triple
similar
H,
to why Brock Lesnar attacked Cody Rhodes.
we will
Yeah,
not get an explanation on it.
I
And
hope
who are
we get
you
an
to even
explanation
who
on
are you even
this.
to ask, Tom? Who are
That
you
kind of
to ask?
question.
Yeah, it's well, I mean, hopefully there's going to be some sort of like storyline that builds this because like with Brock Lesnar, no one knows what Brock Lesnar is going to do ever. So the unpredictability of Brock Lesnar you could probably script that as just like, hey, that's what Brock does. He just attacks people. But
That's
like,
what they did. I mean,
yeah.
that was basically the story we got with Cody.
So with AJ Styles, he's more of a calculated guy. He seems more of like a company guy, right? Like, so I mean, maybe they'll follow the traditional script here and give us a whole backstory on it and why it happened. But um I'm looking forward to it. Like they don't really match up that well in terms of athleticism in the ring because I know AJ is more of a high flyer. He does
Well,
a little bit
sometimes
more.
that's a good thing. When you think
Yeah,
about like a Shawn Michaels Undertaker, different styles, but in the ring, they matched up so well. Sometimes opposites attract, if that makes sense. So LA Knight, especially with a guy like AJ Styles, who is a high flyer and a little bit smaller, that can help LA Knight look very good. And AJ Styles has a career of making guys look great because, it's not as hard to lift him. He's not as heavy, and he can jump higher and stuff like that. So LA Knight can get all his moves and look great. And same thing, vice versa.
Yeah.
AJ Styles can fly around and really make things look great. So I think it's a great matchup with those two. I love it. And
Uh,
as we're talking, when we're thinking about people maybe that are losing the most because of the CM Punk return, another name that popped in my head is Sami Zayn. He's over on Monday Night Raw. He's kind of now been injured and kind of put off to the
mhm.
side. And there's a lot of names here. He was kind of someone that was fighting to be in the main event and has had his run. And maybe he falls off a little bit now because the CM Punk is on that Monday Night Raw roster. There's a lot of names there to go to the top with Seth Rollins, Gunther, Drew McIntyre, whomever.
I would
CM
add
Punk.
in, I would in, add in the other guy. Yeah, your go-to too as well is Austin Theory.
Yeah.
He's getting buried quickly, and just with the addition of CM Punk. I mean, I know he's not on um Raw or anything like that, but he just seems to be an afterthought at this point. Um, and then just to go back to the AJ Styles thing too. Um, if what the WWE is trying to do, like this lone wolf thing, right? And it just comes to my head right now. If he is this new heel that you're trying to push on everybody, I mean, what better guy to attack than LA Knight? Like he's the hottest guy in the game. People love him. You know, they'll hate AJ more if he comes out and he attacks LA Knight. So
Great
and
point.
and they had that whole thing, in the ring where they're fighting off all these guys, and Randy Orton's in the ring, and he's never been, well, he's done the heel thing, but you just never know where he's at. He's always like in the
Even that
middle.
look he gave him was classic. Where he looked at him, he sees it, he goes, okay, like, is that what you're doing? You know what I mean? It was a
Yeah.
great look by Orton. Such a pro, dude.
Yeah. So yeah, they're doing, look, they're fighting off the bloodline, and that's probably part of it too, why he came out like with the bloodline. So he hits Roman Reigns and everyone thinks everything's right with the world, and then he turns on LA Knight, which was more of like a anti-hero, right? So
Yeah. Hey,
um
a lot of things going on. That's very exciting. And that's going to segue right into our next thing. Hey, guess who showed up to Friday Night SmackDown? Your undisputed champion, the tribal chief. He comes out, he starts cutting a promo. It's always big energy when he's in the crowd, in attendance, and people can cheer and go against him. And you get Paul Heyman handing him the microphone. I love seeing him out there. It was good. It's set up. He set up the thing. I don't know where they're going with this storyline. I really think it was a huge fumble when we go back to SummerSlam and Jimmy Uso turning on Jay. I know that was the thing that was doing. Jimmy Uso's character is still developing. It's just not hitting for me right now. Um, he obviously says the next in line is Solo Sokoa, and that was like a big thing to Jimmy and kind of cutting him out of the thing. But why would he be the next in line? He super kicked Roman. He betrayed Roman and then eventually came back and helped. And there was no real explanation on that. So it was a silly explanation at least. So I'm not like really digging that whole character, but it set up Orton challenged Roman Reigns, and it looks like we're getting Roman Reigns versus Randy Orton at Royal Rumble, which I'm excited to see that. You got two class names. That's definitely main event material right there. We'll see where that leads. Timmy, anything you want to talk about with that or
I just have so much frustration with the whole Roman Reigns thing. We I think I tweeted Him. I think I showed you that too. Uh,
That's awesome.
I just
Nothing
tweeted
better
him.
than like having a couple drinks and tweeting at a wrestler like, yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
welcome back. You showed up part time or whatever. What did you say?
I
I
said
gotta
something about.
find it.
I said he's been on like work comp for the
Yeah,
entire year. He's worked one day.
yeah,
He gets the welcome back or some shit like that. I
yeah.
forget what I
Forget the
said.
PLE one day. More like day or day one. More like one day of work.
Yeah. Eh, it's just annoying because you can't build anything around this guy who's holding the most prestigious title in the game. I can go on rants about this every time we do the show, Tom, and it's not going to be fun. So
Yeah.
I'll
Can
just
I say something real quick on that? And I'll throw it back to you, Timmy. The more I'm seeing online, and I don't know what they're doing with this, I keep hearing about Hogan's record. How long Hogan held the title. Hogan held the title. Roman could surpass him in September. September, Roman Reigns will have held the title longer than Hulk Hogan. He will then officially have the longest title reign since Hulk Hogan. He's not going to take over Bruno Sammartino because that's just crazy. I mean, if they're going to do 6 years of Roman Reigns, I don't know. But I'm thinking that the reason we are not seeing him on TV as much is because out of sight, out of mind. And next thing you know, all this time just goes by. Holy crap, we're close to that record now. You get him in a couple of the major PLEs and some storylines. He gets through, and next thing you know, we're at September of next year, and he's going to break Hulk Hogan's record. And I wonder if that's part of the reason why we're not seeing him as much, is if it's a calculated WWE thing, out of sight, out of mind. We'll have him at Rumble. We'll have him at Mania. We'll have him at, SummerSlam. He breaks the record. I don't know if that's their end goal, is what I'm saying. I wonder if that is their end goal, to break the Hogan streak.
I guess I'm curious as to what do they decide when when do they decide, hey, we're going to keep the belt on Roman for another year? Like, is this something that in the very beginning that they go, Roman Reigns is our guy. We're going to ride this out for 3 years. Let's see where it takes us, and then we'll revisit it after 3 years. Or do they go, the momentum is hot with this guy right now. Like he's held it for a year and a half. Let's go till the end of the year and see where it takes us, and then we'll revisit it and see, like, because I've seen stories where guys, yeah, change plans in the middle of the ring, in the middle of the match, and then yeah, someone gets put over, right? Like the guy that gets put over for beating Roman Reigns is gonna be epic. Like
Epic.
this is gonna be like the biggest moment on in wrestling TV for quite some time, man. Like it's so like that person's gotta be the next guy, right? Like he's
He's
gotta
got to
be,
be Hogan. He's got to be Stone Cold. He's got to be like, who else could it be?
yeah.
Oh man, that's a crazy thought. Like, even now, but even if you get him to breaking Hogan's record, who the hell are you going to say? I mean, is it Cody? Is Cody Rhodes the guy that, when you think about, because initially when you're saying that, I start thinking, well, they not only have to be a superstar in the WWE, you have to be a global, like Hulk Hogan was global. Stone Cold Steve Austin was global. You know what I mean? These guys are the people that everyone knew. Like, to take over this character, you need someone that you like. It can't be someone that's going to leave for AEW in a year. You know what I mean? Like, it's got
Can't
to be
be
some.
can't be Bret Hart.
Exactly. It can't be someone that, like, it has to be someone that is going to stick around. Like, man, who the hell could that be? I guess
Yeah.
we're going off on a thing right now, but
No, it's cool to think about because I mean the reality is that it's gonna be in my opinion, I think it happens soon. I think it happens this year. Um, I just don't know who exactly that is, and they better get it right, dude. They really because this is going to be a once, like they built this up so much that they need it to be perfect execution on this that goes over. And honestly, I thought the Jey Uso thing would have been awesome. I thought that would have been a really cool dynamic to do that. Um, not that that would have long term success with him holding on to it. Maybe Reigns wins it back. After you know then he holds it for a month and then Roman gets his rematch and he wins it back, right? Something like that. That is something I could sustain more than some bullshit dude taking them down.
Right.
Yeah, like I'd be okay with that rather than like a Sami Zayn winning it. You know what I mean?
Oh, there were so many people calling for Sami Zayn to win it last year, and it just wasn't the right decision. And but see, with him not winning it last year, this is what we get with Roman only showing up every so often. And I'm guessing the reason like they're doing that is to just have him hold it longer and longer and longer, out of sight, out of mind. Okay, next thing you know, I mean, we're thinking about WrestleMania like it's far away. It's right around the corner. You know what I mean? And we'll be there, and then you'll throw another 100 days onto Roman Reigns' title reign, and it's like, man, this guy's at 1,200 days. He's right around the corner from beating, uh, Hulk Hogan. So we could go that little bit further. Oh, it's crazy to think about. And then whoever the guy is that they decide to take the belt will be a made man for his career. But it was good to have him back. It's always great to have a tribal chief on the show, and I'm really looking forward to the build and the match. Roman Reigns versus Randy Orton. I think it's going to be a classic and a great match to see. So let's jump into something, and I want to highlight this. I want to talk about the U.S. Title tournament. We had a couple matches last week, and we're going to get into those. But I want to talk about something they did that I wish they did with Roman Reigns. They had the matches, and as the matches were going and about to start, you get a little video from Logan Paul talking about each one of these wrestlers, talking shit, saying this and that. This is something that they should be doing with Roman Reigns. It doesn't have to be him talking about different wrestlers or whatever. Give us another 2 minute video every other week or so of Roman Reigns doing whatever. He could be out living like the tribal chief, eating, like steaks on a beach and, people doing whatever it is that the tribal chief does. Just keep that character around so that he's on TV and the relevance and you see him. And it's not like people can say, well, we haven't seen Roman Reigns in forever. If you put him on in these little videos, like they're doing with Logan Paul, I think that I'd appreciate that. But let's get into some of the matches. You get to see Carmelo Hayes on the main roster against Grayson Waller. Timmy, what do you think of Melo out there? Did you like what you saw and the fact that he won his match?
Um, Agile, like he's good in the ring. Like I've seen him wrestle a few times now. I think it was a good opponent to match up with. Dude, I'll tell you what though, during that match, Waller did some crazy ass move off turnbuckle, like where he puts his head behind his knee.
Yeah,
That was like
awesome.
that should be his finishing move. Other
Maybe,
than
yeah.
other than the rolling thunder from outside the ring, like I think that's stupid. And Waller's haircut is stupid. I think
Dumb.
it's dumb. It's dumb. And I don't know. They stopped doing the Waller effect. I haven't seen a Waller effect in a little while now. That was the best part of his character, and he's doing this thing with Austin Theory, who's a loser now. I don't know. I expected Carmelo Hayes to win that once he was announced. And I think who's he facing now?
Kevin Owens. I believe it's
KO.
Carmelo Hayes versus Kevin Owens. Owens' hand's still injury. I want to talk about that match, Kevin Owens versus Austin Theory. That match was awesome. That match had everything. They were doing all types of stuff, storytelling, high spots, different powerlifting maneuvers. There was false finishes. It was a long match. It was a great match from start to finish. I really enjoyed that match. Kevin Owens, one of the best in the business. and it really showed out. Those two guys together are money. I really enjoyed that match. Kevin Owens obviously moving on and will face Carmelo Hayes. Is Carmelo Hayes beat Kevin Owens?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I'm thinking there's some interference that happens in this one.
Yeah, it could go that way.
Not
I
in like
just
maybe Waller in theory come out to try to screw up Kevin Owens and they accidentally take out Mello or something like that and cost him the match,
y-
and it
yeah,
backfires.
yeah. In no way I see if Carmelo wins, it won't be clean. I mean, you can't have him come up and pin KO clean unless KO agrees to that and says, you know what, young fellow, I'm putting you over. I just can't see that happening. But I'm trying to think of the best matchup for Logan Paul, and we saw that kind of little interaction between KO and Logan Paul in the back of SmackDown where KO was wearing the Rey Mysterio shirt I think he had on, and yeah, there was a little bit of an interaction there. So I think that's where they're heading with this, which is fine by me because I would love, again, you talk about two different styles. Um, KO gets a little crazy sometimes with the way he performs, but it'll be an interesting matchup between those two, and it'll be awesome to watch. I think to get those two in the ring for the U.S. title.
Yep. So that's moving forward. So you got KO versus Carmelo Hayes, and you've got Bobby Lashley versus Santos Escobar.
Santos Escobar.
So the winners of those matches will move on to face in the finals, and the winner of that will then face Logan Paul.
Ooh,
Two
ooh.
good
By the
matches
way,
I'm looking forward to. Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that did we talk about the Dragon Lee match? The Dragon Lee Santos Escobar match? That was a cool match.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it was cool. I honestly Santos Escobar, his character as the heel now is much better than it was as a LWO babyface, whatever it was they were trying to
Yeah.
do. It's much better. I wouldn't have him beat Bobby Lashley though. Maybe they're gonna have him beat Lashley. I don't know. It's kind of like I think right now the Lashley, Street Profits, Grayson Waller, Austin Theory, these guys are losing until we get past the WrestleMania and you see down the line. Their stories aren't going to kick in. Maybe we'll see what happens with Lashley, but I feel like these guys are kind of taking their losses now, similar to like Judgment Day last year that just kept losing and losing and losing, and Seth Rollins the year before losing, losing, losing. It's just sometimes you gotta go through it until your storylines are gonna kick in, and we'll see where that goes. But Dragon Lee now the United States champion, and kudos to or
North
not
America.
United States, the North American NXT North American champion. Kudos to uh Dominic Mysterio. That title was elevated. I was watching an interview this week and it was brought up that he elevated that title, and that's not true. That it is true. He elevated the North American NXT title, and it means a little bit more now in NXT. And Dragon Lee is an exciting wrestler to watch. Definitely that lucha style that is something Rey Mysterio brought in is really fun to watch. So I want to talk now about Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins and their promo that they cut on Monday Night Raw. Another great promo. Drew McIntyre. I loved how Seth brought up. I don't know what to think of Drew McIntyre because sometimes he says this and but his actions speak louder than his words. He shook my hand after he lost, said he was going to come back and fight his way, and he did it. But then he goes and does other things and this and that. And then Drew was saying how he was appreciative that took leadership to stand up to CM Punk and to say what he say. And then he just fucking puts a beat down on Seth. And that move,
The Alabama Slammer.
oh my God, that was awesome. But another thing I wanted to mention, and me and the HJB, and I wonder if you noticed this too, Timmy. Seth had a little extra spring in his step. Did you see that suicide dive through the
Yeah.
ropes, man? He flew like a missile through there. I haven't seen that since young Seth Rollins when he flies through at that velocity and the well, I guess just the velocity he got going through those ropes was pretty awesome to see. This feud is incredible. We're really looking forward to the HJB Arena in day one when we get to see that championship match. What do you think of the promo and everything that the fallout from all of that?
Promo was cool. Drew got like very emotional, talked about his father and talked about not seeing his family and being on the road and all this other shit. Uh, and it makes you want to pull for like Drew, which is weird because like he's supposed to be this heel now, and you're like, fuck, I kind of want him to win. You know, like,
We love Drew McIntyre. I mean,
yeah,
you can't deny this guy is just one of the best in the world.
yeah. So he is. You talked about the road character earlier with AJ Styles. It's more, I think, AJ's, I guess, building towards that, and that might be one of his things of the past. But Drew McIntyre is the rogue right now. He is the rogue agent that is unpredictable in his behavior. He has finally really is looked out for himself, and that's his agenda right now. Is he wants to take that title. He said he needs to take that title for his family and for his legacy. And um I believe it. I believe it when he says it. And it's got this strange, just like almost like uh just really physical like build to this match, like that there is going to be some harm done, right? Like it feels like it's almost, remember, I think I told you this, that like I want it to be like a no holds barred like type match. Like this has got to be something like fucking brutal where these guys really just have it out with each other. Well, no, I talked about
That with
him and
Punk,
CM
but
Punk.
whatever.
Punk.
Yeah, I like what you're saying there, and I love the his line of I have to justify all these things that I've missed, all this sacrifice that I've made. I have to justify it by winning this title, and I will do whatever it takes. And just it's the truth, and it's great, and it's incredible, and his character, he's himself. He's found this character and amplified it and is able to tell the stories at such a high level. It's so awesome to see. And kudos to Drew McIntyre. I fucking love this guy. He is the best in the biz right now. He's so good.
Yeah.
It's great to see every week. He knows how to build a match. He knows how to be in a match. He's a monster.
He got to show up to SmackDown and Raw whenever he wants, or
He's the
whenever
GOAT,
he's.
dude. He's awesome.
No, it's going to be a good build. Day one's going to be really entertaining, and who knows, we might see some belt changes there too. It's the thing about what Triple H is doing with this roster is that you don't know when something is actually going to go down. Like you think you might know, and that's probably years and years and years of Triple H being in the business. And he's probably had ideas in the past where like, he had to listen to what Vince has said and probably, look, I'm not saying Vince didn't know what the fuck he was doing because he obviously has made this company as profitable as it has been for as many years as it's been. But yeah, there's a lot of times where Vince should have zigged when he zagged. And I'm sure that Triple H had a lot of ideas in the past, and now he's really taking the reins and he's pushing his experience into the storylines and what he probably learned from Vince, right, over all those years, and what he's seen fail and what he's seen work, and now just making it almost a perfect kind of scenario here where he's getting the best of both worlds, the wrestling world and the creative side of it too as well. Hey,
Yes. Amen. Timmy, you're right on with that. And I want to reference an interview when Vince McMahon was on the Pat McAfee show, and he talked about when WWE became a publicly traded company. And if you watch that interview, he talks about how his kind of thinking of the business changed. It was about the money, and not that it wasn't always like the money wasn't always a big thing, but you have stockholders now that you have to answer to, and you are building and building and building and building, where it kind of left off the storyline. He kicked that to the side. And Triple H saw that. He was there. He was probably as frustrated as anyone in these dark years. And I call them dark years where, you weren't tuning in, where the casual fan wasn't tuning in as much. And it was kind of out of touch. It was definitely out of touch. And Triple H has that perfect blend of being able to be the most profitable the company's ever been and tell the storylines. I think he realized, hey, we'll be more profitable when the storylines are better. You
Yeah.
can't just say we're going to throw in Brock Lesnar and it's going to be a home run. And not that he's not a huge draw and it won't beat that, but if you have Brock Lesnar in a great story, even better, times 10. So Triple H, kudos to him, Timmy. I think you're right on with that. And it's just exciting time for WWE. We're totally looking forward to this day one PLE or Monday Night Raw and that title match. I'm hoping we see fireworks that night at the HJB Arena. We'll see. Maybe the boys will cut a couple promos. All right, let's get to R-Truth and the Judgment Day.
Oh, dude, I was actually going to ask you if we could touch on that a little bit because
Absolutely. So we talked about it last week on how we thought it was a bit of a mistake that they ended this R-Truth thing so quickly because R-Truth is such a lovable character. He's so entertaining and so funny. And especially when you tie him in with that Judgment Day that's always trying to be so serious. We're the Judgment Day. We won Monday Night Raw. It almost makes Damian Priest more likable. And I
yeah.
think it's done wonders in this last week for Damian Priest. And so I'm so glad that they brought him back into the fold and we're not done with R-Truth. And now he has that match with JD McDonough. And a quick shout out to JD McDonough. This dude sells like
It
crazy, dude.
does. It does.
I like JD McDonough's matches. He make R-Truth look like $1 million. That match was hard hitting and great selling and a good story.
He's the
R-Truth
modern
comes out with the victory. Yes.
he's the modern day Spike Dudley. JD
Yo,
what's it?
there's some parallels there right there. I agree. And now we have this storyline with R-Truth that I think endears you to, like, you can see that Damian Priest loves him. You know what I mean? And he's trying to hold character, but he's smiling. So it makes Damian Priest much more likable. And if that turn does happen, where they kick him out of the Judgment Day, Damian Priest, it's going to be a much bigger story and better for business and better for Damian's character if
All right.
R-Truth can make people love Damian and R-Truth.
Not gonna go that far yet. It still needs to build. This is what the greatest thing about wrestling is it's, and I've said this 1,000 times to my girlfriend, especially. It's it's a soap opera for men. And when like in soap operas, so and so has a job, or, yeah, it's like the craziest storyline. And then like the next week, but wait, there's more, right? Like
Yeah.
so like last week we think that our truth angle is done, it's over with, and then they probably go, fuck, we didn't get a great response on that. We gotta right the ship here. And then our truth just come out with the Judgment Day and just say, like, it never happened. You know what I mean?
How about that shirt?
That's great.
Where it says all the guys that he
Yeah,
writes stuff with Matt
yeah,
and R-Truth, and
yeah,
then he's like, "Hey, I'm glad I got initiated into the gang and you beat me up, but that not only hurt me physically,
yeah,
but also emotionally."
yeah. And it's crazy how endearing the crowd is to our truth. Not many people could pull off what our truth does. And again, I don't know of our truth. I used to see him back in the day where he would do the what's up stuff and all that. And then
Do you
like
remember him talking to little Jimmy? Like he had like an imaginary character on the side, but whatever. Go ahead. He
yeah,
was,
no,
yeah.
no. And but like he has the crowd loves him.
Yes.
And anything he does, they eat up. And he could go out and do whatever the hell they asked him to do, and people would love it. And he just has that staying power. And what you're saying about truth about Damian Priest is true. So you can see him laughing, like he can't keep it in. And what I see there is that if you look at a lot of the factions in the WWE that have taken place over time, right? Like if you look at like DX, right? Or you look at some of these other factions, there was always the lighter side of things too, where yeah, this faction would break character a little bit and then do something out of the ordinary, right? To get laughs or whatever. And for the first time, I'm watching this and I'm like, all right, like this is kind of like entertaining. Like
Yes.
it's not like, oh, we run Raw, all rise, and it's all serious all the fucking time. And it's like, all right, dude, we get your fucking stigma, right? Like, we get what you're doing. You're gonna come out, you're gonna tell everyone how you run WWE. We can't lose and all this other bullshit. Yada, yada, yada. And then R-Truth comes and puts in this perfect little wrinkle into Judgment Day, which in my opinion, they are running on fumes for me. I'm like kind of Mommy's the only one right now that I respect, even though both those dudes hold titles and Damian Priest holds the Money in the Bank case. Like something had to move. Like something had to go.
Right.
And with what R-Truth is bringing, it kind of refreshes the Judgment Day a little bit. And I'm curious just to see how this goes. Now, like we had this match, like loser is out of the Judgment Day at the end of the show. Yeah, they're like, look, you're still in the Judgment Day. Like, what now? What happens with Truth? So it's going to be interesting because it's a cool little angle with Judgment Day that's not serious and will entertain. So kudos to those guys for sticking with the R-Truth thing because I think it's a necessary wrinkle in what the Judgment Day's doing right now instead of doing the bullshit that comes out every week. And
Right. We
it's
need
so
to switch
predictable.
it up a little bit and make, like you're saying, R-Truth is such a lovable character. He's so endearing. The audience love him so much. And he's a perfect complement to the Judgment Day right now. Very similar to that of a Sami Zayn with the Bloodline last year, and how he kind of brings that
Yeah.
comedic relief
Yep.
and makes the group as a whole more likable and more lovable and just makes you more invested in their story. And so when it goes forward, now you were invested because, man, I hope this were like I like R-Truth. I want to see where this goes. And when they turn, it's like, oh my God, how could they do that to Truth or whatever, whatever ends up happening. You
But
you you're like, oh, you're just invested more. And
but
he makes you more invested in Judgment Day, and it's a great combination. Similar to what we're saying, these opposites attract sometimes. It's perfect.
how good is it that someone in creative, whether it was Triple H or somebody else, identified Truth, who we have not seen on television for quite some time, and said, "Look, let's try this angle a little bit with Judgment Day, right? Like let's add him to the fold, but not actually into the fold, and keep him fringe like Judgment Day, have him, like create this angle where he's almost mocking them. It's just really genius writing, in my opinion, um, because it makes like I just said it 5 seconds ago. It just makes them more relevant, more entertaining than the same old shtick that they've had for the last 10 months, right?
Yeah.
Um, and
Yeah.
and adding people to factions is always something that's always been on top of people's minds. Like, hey, like who's going to join the faction next?
Right.
And no one had R-Truth on that list at all.
No,
Everyone,
and what a comeback for him at the War Games PLE, and then right into that story. Like, perfect. Just kudos. Man, we're giving a lot of praise to creative tonight, but that's just that was a great move. Like next week when they go on or on day one, if they come out, I want to hear what Truth has to say with them. I'm entertained. Like, okay, let's see this.
it's
All
great.
right.
Truth's got the rings and the purple and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
He looks the part.
Yeah, he's awesome. And so That's exciting stuff to see. Another group that I could see them doing that with in the future, another lovable group, is kind of where I'd like to see that go. Is I'd love to see an Alpha Academy tied in. What maybe a guy from one of those groups. If at some point, I'm not saying like right now, but like maybe there's another hardcore faction in the future that gets a little comic relief from a lovable group like an Alpha Academy that helps elevate those guys into a real because like now
Real
you could
quick,
have R-Truth in a real match and be like invested in it because you love R-Truth.
real quick. Before we get to I think our last topic, right? Do we have
Yeah.
one more?
Yep.
What do you make of the Alpha Academy and Chad Gable not wrestling it at all?
I
He's
think
been
they're protecting him. I think he's a guy that they are they don't want to have him losing too much right now. You know, they want to protect him. He won in NXT I want to say a week or so ago, and it's just another one of those guys where there's so much stuff that right now, unfortunately, it's not his time. And he's gonna have to wait, I think, until we're through this run through WrestleMania.
so
And
we've seen 3 weeks in a row where like we think Chad Gable's wrestling and Tozawa comes out all 3 times. He teams with Otis and he goes out and fights Ivar on his own and
maybe there's an injury we don't know about too. I don't
yeah.
know.
Strange, because I love watching him wrestle. He's so talented and he was on a heater there for a little bit and yeah, since the Gunther thing has gone away, it's been kind of quiet. So
Yeah, I
just
think they'll showcase him in the Rumble a little bit, and then he'll get another showcase at maybe Chamber or Mania. And I he's another one of those guys that I think isn't going to be in a main storyline until after WrestleMania, unfortunately. I mean, anything can happen. Next week maybe he'll get thrown into something and we'll be like, "Holy shit, this is great."
yeah,
But I feel like him, the Street Profits,
big Bronson
Theory
Reed.
Wallers, Bronson, like these guys are baiting their time, taking their L's right now in hopes for the future of a legitimate story. And because you never know when it's going to happen. Miz has been in a legitimate story now for the last month and a half. Our Truth all of a sudden is in a major story. We'll see. And we talked about Royal Rumble. Maybe a Big E Langston comes back. I would love to see Big E come back. All right, let's get to our final topic of the night. And then this is just a quick touch on. We've talked about these guys at length. We've mentioned them in the show. And I just want to touch on Miz and Gunther, another incredible match. Miz has really we're calling him right now, or at least I think in the text line, is the king of the rebirth. This guy is always reinventing himself and making himself a legitimate guy in a major storyline. If it's not with LA Knight, if it's not the you know WrestleMania host, if he's not with Logan Paul, it's Gunther. It's just this guy's always doing whatever they ask him to do. He just steps up to the plate. He does it, and man, he hits a lot of home runs. And I want to talk about that and the Creed brothers. The Creed brothers again in that match. I mean, we've talked about it. Julius Creed has the physical potential. We haven't seen enough of the mic skills or the storyline stuff to see where he could go. Physically, this guy could be a world champion. He is so impressive in the ring right now that it's must see TV. His match yet again out there with that tag championship match, and both of them are great. Both of the Creed brothers are great. And I just wanted to talk about these guys. And Timmy, I don't want to go all night on these guys, but I just wanted to give Miz and Gunther kudos again. If you haven't checked out these matches from this past week, must see Miz versus Gunther, Creed brothers in their title match. Timmy, you go ahead. What would you like to say on these two?
Just with I mean, you say not to spend a lot of time on it, but like
Well, you do your thing. I'm just saying, like, you know,
no, I'm saying it doesn't do us justice by what Julius Creed can do athletically. I said this last week. I said it again this week. Like the things that he's able to do at the size that he is just it you can't explain it. Um, and we've never seen it before. Like, look, we've seen Kurt Angle do some insane things. Like the guy was just an absolute just warrior in the ring. Like the dude just had no like his motor would never die. And I would I would say that Kurt Angle would say the same thing about this guy, Julius Creed. Like the guy just does not have a limit to his athleticism, and we're seeing things that he's doing, and maybe he was doing it in NXT. I've never seen him before until he got to the WWE, but he's running and like with in stride, like go to the top turnbuckle, doing a flip off onto the sidewalk, onto the concrete or whatever you want to call it. He's doing kickoffs after every belly to back suplex. It, the other stuff that he does too is just like technically sound too in the ring. So like he's as complete of a wrestler as he is. He's also technically like doing fireman's carries, like just doing like the technical shit, like just on the mat. So he just brings such a different element. And I said to you and the HJB that like, dude, this guy, his potential is just untapped. Like this, like there's no ceiling on this dude. He has the athleticism of a Logan Paul, almost like a Ricochet. Um, and he has the body of like a Randy Orton almost, right? He's that big. And it's like, dude, you combine both those things, you add mic skills to this dude. I mean, he could be something in the future. I'm just gonna leave it like that with them. Brutus also is a great wrestler. He's 280 pounds solid. Um, I think the finishing move is dangerous, honestly, because it looks like he falls on the wrestler's head like every single time when they do that Brutus ball or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, they lost to the Judgment Day. It looks like they're going to have a rematch probably at the Rumble or at Day One or whatever it's going to be, but they need to run that back or something like that because that was incredible. Um, and then Miz and Gunther, there's nothing to be said about that. Like Miz is bringing it every fucking time he goes out to the ring, and to match the intensity of Gunther, like Gunther is the standard now. Gunther is it, right? And maybe we're saying this, right, as just spectators, right? People that aren't even in the know. I don't even know if the wrestlers love Gunther's style. They might be like, fuck, I gotta wrestle this dude again. Like Miz is in this storyline with Gunther, and he probably wants to get out of it because it's such a fucking brutal match every time. Um,
But it puts you over. You
God,
know,
dude,
everybody that's been in those matches have gotten their flowers. Like,
dude, the
man,
boot,
what a match.
but the boot that Miz took from Gunther was, I thought he was out. I
Yeah.
honestly thought he was fucking dead. uh,
And then the power slam to
yeah,
the lariat, the spinning lariat, then back to another power slam. I mean, when they said he's throwing him around like a rag doll at that point, it really was like,
how
man,
funny.
it looked like Miz was out on his feet a little bit there.
You know what I love too? That little segment there where he's on the ground, he's on his knees, and he's looking up at Gunther, and he's like, "Come on!"
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, "Yes, like
Yes.
let's go, Miz."
Miz.
Like it's just you get like wrapped up into those moments, like where it hurts,
Yeah, oh
like
yeah.
those things hurt, and he's like, you know what, fuck this, I'm doing it. I'm doing it for the crowd. I'm doing it for the applause, for the entertainment. Like that's when you know these guys are true entertainers, when they really, and you say it all the time, you want to see him lay it in. Like that's a dude that has a passion for the business, like
Giving
none other.
their all.
Yeah,
Giving their all.
like the
Yeah.
Miz, his backstory. Like he always wanted to be a wrestler. He was a real world guy. He used to do his character on the Real World, and then went through development, and the guy just worked his ass off to be where he's at. Maybe did he have a leg up because he was a reality star? Probably, right? But
Like a
still,
Logan Paul is very much successful in social media. Little
yeah,
similarities there, obviously not as big. And I loved Miz's line of the only thing that, the only entertaining thing about you is that belt that you carry around, And so once you lose that, you'll have nothing. I was like, all right, good for you, Miz. And just this guy again, just putting it out there, and man, all the credit in the world to him. And I want to say, in this, Timmy, this is going to be a hot take I'm going to clip for the TikTok, but they're not going to know that I'm saying that. So let me do this rant real quick. This is going to be for TikTok views, for little insider information for the Julius Creed right now is the best professional wrestler in the world. In ring, there is nobody better than Julius Creed. He's better than everyone else in the professional wrestling business in the world. Better than Will Ospreay, better than Kenny Omega, better than Roman Reigns, better than he is got it all from top to finish. The look, in ring, the mat skills, high flying. Julius Creed is the best in the world today. How do you think that was, Timmy? You think that'll get some views?
it probably will.
That's just a little hot take. Do I necessarily agree with that? I don't know. Gunther might be the best in the world today, but man, Julius Creed is in HJB, and I don't know if you both said it, but on the text line, best athlete in WWE today. We are certainly, what a fun time to be wrestling fans. What a fun time to be listening to Jabroni Drive.
I can't
Another
wait.
great episode.
I can't wait to give out our awards next week, Tom.
Next week, big episode. We're going to be going the match of the year, the wrestler of the year, the PLE of the year, some of our greatest moments from the show. Be
We
sure
got
to
Logan
check it
Paul.
out.
Logan Paul in studio to accept his award for
His Jabroni Award,
the Jabroni for best new wrestler.
the
of the
Golden Jabroni. Timmy, anything you want to say to all the Schmidt Lavelle-lites before we sign off?
No. Do I have a catchphrase for this or not?
When you listen to Jabroni Drive, you're a jabroni
Oh yeah.
for life. We love you. Thank you for listening. New episodes every week. Be sure to follow us on all podcast platforms and YouTube. Available on Instagram, Spotify, Twitter, and TikTok. We love you. Till next week.
Mwah.